We'll go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everybody out today. My name is Keith Coppage. I'm the co-founder of Purpose Golf, the head golf professional here at the Golf Club of Dallas, and a PGA member. I want to thank you for taking the time to attend today's panel discussion, and I want to say a special thank you to our panelists for agreeing to be here today, especially Glenn and Jeff for driving in. Oh yes, we need to speak to the mics. For agreeing to come in today from Houston and Horseshoe Bay. Before we begin, I want to kind of give you an overview of what we're going to do today. We want you, the audience, to be as involved as possible with us. So if at any time you have a question or a comment, raise your hand, and I'm going to have Mike here in the back. He's going to be running the microphone, and he'll give it to you. There's no speakers today, but we are recording this audio, and we're going to distribute this in video format after the fact so that those who aren't here can watch this panel discussion as well. Throughout the discussion, the panelists might refer to some statistics or research. We've done our best to provide you with as much as we could in those packets. Not everything will be in there, but we wanted you to have that information in front of you as well. So today's panel discussion will focus on trade times, their effect on our industry, and what we can do to succeed in spite of them. Trade times are the biggest threat to public golf today, and the largest trade time provider is GolfNow. Make no mistake about it, GolfNow is your competitor, not your partner. They have more inventory than you, and they sell it for prices that you cannot compete with. They are not in the technology business, they are in the green fee business. Their model is to sell their inventory, their hot deals to our golfers. The technology they provide is just a cost of goods sold. They have sold us all a lie for the past decade. Give us an off-peak time that you won't ever sell, and we'll trade you your point of sale and your website. Sounds like a great deal, right? Well, now they're making a fortune off that time that we could never sell, and we're left holding the bag. GolfNow nets approximately $3 million in DFW each year and $100 million company-wide from trade. $100 million, and that's just GolfNow. Let that sink in for a second. We have allowed one company to remove $3 million per year, all in the name of growing our businesses. That is crazy. We can no longer remain idle and allow this to continue. The future of our industry is at stake. 2 years ago, we had a town hall meeting at Sherrill Park, and many of you here were in attendance that day, and we discussed the problems with the trade time industry. There was agreement in the room that the way companies like GolfNow and others operate is detrimental to our business. There was an overall disapproval of trade times and the way they erode price integrity and discourage customer loyalty. Those same sentiments are shared widely in this room today, based on the surveys that you filled out. At that meeting 2 years ago, I introduced Purpose Golf as a solution to these problems. Now, at that time, I was yet to launch, and I'm sure some of you were skeptical, but I'm happy to announce it's been 2 years, and I've helped in the assisting of $500,000 of tee time revenue for our course partners, with no fees, no trade times, and no commissions. But in my opinion, we have only scratched the surface of what Purpose Golf is capable of achieving. This year we launched GolfNorthTexas.com, and it's our marketing arm direct to consumers. Courses have complete control and ownership over all times listed on this platform, and we've also recently partnered with Supreme Golf to greatly improve our marketing and distribution efforts. Our partner courses will now be listed on SupremeGolf.com. They are the largest online inventory of tee times, and Golf.com, the home of Golf Magazine. And while all these advancements are great, the most important driving factor behind any third-party site is its inventory. We are nothing without our course partners. GolfNow's most valuable asset is you, your inventory. And as you'll see today, they are literally laughing at you about how much trade they're going to sell in place of your times. This is why I need your participation more than anything to succeed. Now is the time for us to act. What you will hear today from this panel is how we can work together as a group to put that $3 million back into our market, how we can work together to restore price integrity, and how we can work together to regain the power in our marketplace. My goal is to make the North Texas section a leading example of how owners, operators, and PGA professionals can work together for the greater good. Thank you again for being here today, and let's get started with the discussion. I'd like to start by introducing our panelists. So directly to my right, Mr. Glenn Lee. Mr. Lee has been a PGA member for 26 years and is the current District 12 Director and a former Southern Texas PGA President. He is the General Manager of Escondido Golf and Lake Club. To his right, Philip Blakeney. Mr. Blakeney has been a PGA member for 24 years. He is a former Northern Texas PGA President and has been here at the Golf Club of Dallas for 17 years, starting out as the General Manager and Head Professional, then becoming the Director of Golf and owner in 2012. Mr. Jeff Strong. Mr. Strong has been a PGA member for 20 years and is the current Southern Texas PGA President. He is the owner and president of Strong Sports Management, as well as the General Manager of Eagle Point Golf Club and Recreation Complex, which is owned by the city of Mont Belvieu. And then Mr. Ronnie Glanton. Mr. Glanton has been a PGA member for 33 years. He is also a former District 12 Director and the former Northern Texas PGA President. He is the head professional at Sherrill Park Golf Course and has been in the public sector for 35 years. Please join me in welcoming our panelists this morning. So I'd like to start off by having y'all discuss the changes you have seen in the public market over the last 15 years, specifically from the early 2000s before online third parties were very prominent compared with today. And please remember to speak into the mics.
You want me to go?
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, as Keith alluded to, I've been at Sherrill Park for 35 years, and I've seen a lot of changes in the business, as a lot of you in the room. I see Jim Henderson down here. He's been in the public sector a long time. And, you know, back in 1999, I'll give you an example. Sherrill Park operated 136,000 rounds as early as 1999. And, you know, that's back before 9/11, back before the boom of all these golf courses being built and developed. And that really impacted golf more than anything else, is the amount of golf courses that have been built since 1999 until today. You know, the National Golf Foundation came out with these surveys. They could build these golf courses on every corner and they'd all be successful. And it turns around, now we're in a predicament. We have too many courses. Now there's more courses being closed than they are opening now, which is great for us as operators. But the bottom line is that's where we're going to now with these third-party tee time providers that are coming into the marketplace and impacting our jobs and our business, period. I mean, to me, if we're going to create value as a golf professional, then we have to take control. We have to take control of what we do at our facilities. And as Keith alluded to earlier, you know, by us giving GolfNow or any third-party tee time provider your tee sheet, you're pretty much saying, well, they're doing my job as a golf professional. You know, and I think at the end of the day, I think that we have to work harder. We have to create more relationships. We have to do better in what we do each and every day as a golf pro. You know, you look at how jobs have been devalued in the marketplace over the course of the last 10 years. You know, to be honest with you, we've all created that. We as golf professionals has created that in the marketplace. And that's where we have to step up and make a difference as professionals. You know, I'll be a perfect example of it. I mean, I used GolfNow for 2 years, and I had decent success with them. I didn't like what it was doing to our facility. I didn't like what the trade times was doing to our facility, and I didn't like the type of player that the trade times were bringing to my golf course. So 2 years ago, I dropped GolfNow, and I used Purpose Golf. And this past year, I'll just give you an example of my last 2 months at my facility. You know, this past October, we were up 35% in revenue over the last 5 years. And that includes the 2 years that I used GolfNow. We were up 35% this year as opposed to 2015. We were up 16.5% opposed to 2014. We were up 8.7% from 2013 and 15.7% from October of 2012. Going into November, we were up 26% this month over last November. In 2014, we were up 31% in comparison to 2014. In 2013, we were up 12.5%. In November 2012, we were up 13%. And then I can go back all the way back to 2011, we were up 15.25% in revenue. What I found out that I'm getting more dollar per player now than I was back when I used GolfNow. I was probably averaging $25 a player. I'm averaging well over $30 a player now. You know, and to me, unless you drop them, then you don't know what you're going to do. You know, everybody say, well, incrementally, you know, I'm making $200,000 from GolfNow right now. How are you going to know whether you're going to make that money or not when you continue to use them? The only way you can find out is to drop them and then see what you can do the next year. And if you're missing that revenue, then they might be the key to your success. I don't know. But until you do it, you don't know.
So I've been at Eagle Point for 16 years. I've been in the Houston market since 1997. In 97, we had a booming year. I was at Longwood Golf Club. We did $3.5 million. We were doing 60,000 rounds at that facility. I moved to Eagle Point in 99, opened a brand new facility. Our best year in the 16 years was 35,000 rounds. And since when GolfNow and all these internet tee time systems came online, I steadily watched our rounds go down. So 3-4 years ago, I dropped GolfNow just like Ronnie did. And from that point on, so I went with golf18.com. I give away the second and fifth round away every week. And that's all I give away. So I give away 8 rounds a week. That's it. And I don't discount it. They don't discount it. Because the integrity of the price means something to me and means something to my golf course. What drove me nuts was when they'd sell that foursome of golf for $15 a player. I'm not a $15 golf course. We put more money into our facility, more maintenance went in. We raised our maintenance budget from $6 to $8 to $1 million over the years to have a great facility. And the city backed us up. They wanted a great facility. I'm in a unique position because the city owns it and they've got a large tax base. And they're not in it to make money. And when I go in front of city council, I want them to realize that they're leaving money on the table. So every budget year, just like I did 2 months ago, I let them know that we need to do things different because we can make money. My goal is to get us to $2 million as a facility. This year we were at 1.6. I increased the revenue by $100,000 in the last year. Now here's the trick to the whole thing. GolfNow kept coming back. So they said, well, we want to do the trade times, we want to do your tee sheet, we want to do all the stuff that they do for everybody else. And I said, no, I said, I'm not going to do that. I said, I'm not paying one dime, I'm not giving you one thing from my tee sheet that's going to be free to you. So I negotiated a deal. The first deal went like this. I said, well, a salesperson, when they go into the market, gets a 7.5 to 9% commission on sales. I said, so let's do it on a sales basis. And they said, well, how about 20%? I said, no. I said, see you later. Get out the door. Goodbye. 3 months later, they come back again. They won't change, so I said, see you later. Goodbye. Year later, they come back, and they go, well, Jeff, we want to negotiate. I said, well, so do I. I said, how about 10%? And they said, how about 15? I said, well, you need to run that up your corporate ladder. And so they ran it up their corporate ladder, and we agreed on 10%. So every round of golf that comes in from GolfNow, the consumer pays GolfNow 10%. I use only rack rates. So on a $60 green fee, they get $6 plus the booking fee of $249. The consumer pays that. What drives me nuts is the golf courses. We should not be giving anything around. That's our money. That's our tee time. And I can tell you as an operator, our most valuable asset is our tee sheet. Don't ever forget it. And we're allowing them to take a piece of what we do every day. And I've got more pride than that to sit here and tell you that we're doing the right thing. We have to stop these operators from coming in. And the only way we can do it, and this is the reason I came up here, because Keith and I talked a lot of times on the phone, and I want, one, to educate the golf professional. Two, we got to educate the operators. We've got to do the right thing. We cannot continue to allow people to come into our business, take our fees away. And what's that say if we're all complaining about salaries and wages? How are we going to get more wages and more salaries if we don't do the right thing for our facilities? The owners want more money, we want more money, and this is the only way it works.
Well said, Jeff. My name is Philip Blakeney. Once again, I'd like to welcome everybody out to the Golf Club of Dallas. Really appreciate everyone coming to this panel discussion. I can't tell you how excited I am about the participation in this event. You know, we had that town hall meeting at Sherrill Park a couple of years ago. I also spoke at the annual meeting. Unfortunately, we had really bad weather, so a lot of you probably weren't able to be there. But I'm very passionate about this topic. At the Golf Club of Dallas, we used GolfNow for 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, 2.5 or 3 years. You know, and at the time, I kind of felt like I was making a deal with the devil. And the reason I say that is that I knew something wasn't quite right about it. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I kind of felt like at the time that, you know, it's only a couple of tee times a day. We were on their premier program. I think at the time they really only had about 8 golf courses on that program. And then just in about a 6-month period, it got to 12 to 16 to near 30 golf courses, I think, when we got off the premier program. But the reason why I bring up the premier program is that we traded 2 tee times a day. And once again, in our thought process, you know, it's really only 2 tee times. We're really not using them. It's really not that valuable. When we started with them, it was about a 7-to-1 ratio. And then when we got off of them, about 2.5, 3 years later, it was a 1-to-1 ratio. So when I talk about the 7-to-1 ratio, I'm talking about 7 times booked versus 1 trade time used. When we started, it was about a 7-to-1. And that's not a bad ratio. That actually sounds pretty good, like they're bringing you something to the table. Well, as the marketplace grew, when we left them, it was literally a 1-to-1 to 1.5-to-1, depending on the week. And that math just didn't work for us. So, you know, it was a hard decision because I think there's a lot of you out there that kind of felt like, and I'll quote, I'm not going to name the person, but he said, Philip, I feel like I'm on an island out here. I'm the only one not doing it. Everybody in my area is doing it. I feel like I have to do it. And he's talking about using GolfNow. You know, at the end of the day, you don't have to do it. Just as Jeff said, you know, you own your tee sheet. Your tee sheet is your asset. Those times are valuable. And if it's at 3 o'clock or at 2:45 or at 3:30, the reason why that tee time is so important is because there's no price integrity on that tee time if it's a trade time. They'll sell it for $5. They'll sell it for $3. They'll sell it for $12. They'll sell it for whatever they want. And the reason why they will is they're in the business to make money. And we've allowed them access to our tee sheet to make that money. We supply all of the inventory. They don't supply anything. They don't have supply unless we give it to them. So at the end of the day, the only way that we're going to be able to make a change is if we collectively, like Keith said in his speech, get together and do something about it. That's really the only way we're going to make a difference. And if it's 20% of this market that decided, you know what, we're done with GolfNow, I literally promise you that would raise the price of golf up. There's no question in my mind that would raise the price of golf up. If 50% decide to do it, it would raise the price of golf up more than you can imagine. If 100% of this market decided not to have GolfNow, the price of golf would be unimaginable. And I mean this when I say this. I'd like to applaud like Jim Henderson, Mickey Pearsall, I know Brett Lingles in the group. All these golf courses are city golf courses, and they don't use GolfNow. all these golf courses in our area, we don't use GolfNow. The price of golf for us has gone up. The first year we got off GolfNow, our net revenue went up 6%. 6% the first year we got off of them. And they're coming in here and telling me that they brought $110,000 to the Golf Club of Dallas the year before I left them. Really? But yet I'm not using you and my revenue went up? Well, why is that? There's a reason. Because every other person would come in here, you're not on GolfNow, you're not on GolfNow. Because they couldn't book that hot deal. They couldn't come out here and play for $3 or $8. Somebody comes out and plays your golf course for $3, $8, $5, $12, whatever it is, that's what they view your golf course. They view your golf course as a $12 round of golf. And why would I book that trade time? Why would I book a regular time if I can book that trade time for $12? I'll give you another little bit before I pass along. But so if you go to GolfNow and you want to book a trade time, and let's say you want, you go to XYZ golf course and you're looking for the 11:30 time, and it's a trade time because it says hot deal on it. You go to book it, no, it's full. They've already booked all those slots for the day. But guess what they do? They leave it up there, and they leave the price that it's sold for. And so the next day, instead of going to book those guys' regular tee times, you can go back to that hot deal and go ahead and book it. So are they selling golf for your golf course, or are they selling golf for GolfNow? Before I let it go, I'd like to applaud Keith Coppage. Keith Coppage is a PGA member. He graduated from Baylor University. He's still, I know him very well. He's still got a lot of school debt. But instead of being in the private sector, he decided to be in the golf business. And he's risked a lot of his time and his money to start this business, Purpose Golf. And I can tell you, it's done wonders for us. It has done wonders for us. Give Keith a chance. It's a wonderful business model. He's doing it because he cares about the golf business, and I'm just really proud of what he's done.
Thank you, Philip. I'd like to kind of go back a little bit. You were speaking about the Premier program and how we got on there, and there was just a few courses, and then by the time we got off, there was over 20. And talk about that oversaturation and how it applies to trade times. Have trade times always been this big of a problem, or is it more of a recent development since there's so much saturation in the market of courses using them? If it was just one or two courses, would it be the issue that we have today? I'd like to start with you, yeah.
One thing I'll say, going back to the trade times and the saturation of the market, the problem is there's so much inventory out there because we've allowed that inventory to be created through our golf courses. And so it is much bigger problem than it was. GolfNow has been around for a long time, but over the last 5 to 10 years, the last 3 years, they have really, their numbers have just gone astronomical. I think in worldwide, they're $100 million just in trade times. In this market, like Keith said, they're $3 million. It's basically $25,000 a golf course to $35,000 a golf course is what they're taking from you out of these trade times. It's really, and this sounds harsh, it's an epidemic in the golf business. These trade time providers are an epidemic. We're only talking about one company so far. We're not talking about teeoff.com. There's a lot of other companies that are going to really gain some speed because they see how easy it is to get money in this golf business without owning a golf course.
I'd like to echo what Philip said about Keith. He has put a lot of time and energy into Purpose Golf and trying to make a difference in the marketplace. And there's very few golf professionals that would put this much time in trying to make a difference in our industry. And Keith, thank you so much for what you've done for us. It's awesome. Just a couple things on these trade times. When I had GolfNow at our facility, I talked to them numerous times about putting a floor on these trade times. If they would put a floor on these trade times at the same price that you sell your tee times for, then they would not have near the success they're having today. The problem is time draws nearer and nearer to that tee time, it goes from $20 to $18 to $15 to $10 until it sells. So basically, as Philip alluded to earlier, it just devalues your product. And the consumer out there, that's all they're looking for. If they can't get the hot deal at Sherrill Park if we use GolfNow, they'll go to the Golf Club of Dallas. They're not going to book another tee time. They're going to look for that trade time. And that's where we need to stand up. When you do speak to GolfNow, just say, guys, why don't we use a floor on these trade times? Let's use the same price that we charge for all of our other tee times for the trade times, and see what we could do moving forward in that direction. I can tell you they're not going to do it, because I asked them numerous times to do that, and they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't budge.
Better yet, use my model. Get 10% on a certain number of rounds, negotiate with them. They will negotiate, but you got to stand up to them. That
Explain that a little bit more. 10% of what?
So,
All your tee times?
of any tee time they book, that they book online.
So you have some tee times that you dictate your normal rate, and you get 10% of those?
They get 10% of my rack rate.
They get 10% of
They
your
get
rack
10%.
rate?
So if I on their website, what I do is I put my tee times on GolfNow's website. Okay? So I only use rack rate with GolfNow. I don't ever discount. I refuse to do it. Okay? I've watched them take advantage of us for so many years. I just said, I'll play the game. There's a couple things that really bother me with GolfNow is when they put in a $60 rate, and if I put my rack rate 60 and they put a $30 rate in there, and they show that this is a 50% off rate on this tee time, what does that do to your property? Now you're a $30 golf course.
So how are they putting $30 on your $60? I thought.
No, they don't. I'm saying
don't.
overall with
Okay.
other tee times. That was the model that they used. That's the way they sell that $15 tee time, whatever it is, shows 60% off the rack rate. That's horrible to the property. That's not even fair. That's not what your property's worth.
Right.
So the first thing they send out every day is that
Hot.
discounted rate. So your property, whether it's a $60 rack rate, $40 rack rate, whatever it is, the first thing that the consumer sees every day, hey, let's go play Tennyson Park, to use that as an example, for $15. What's that golf course worth?
Right.
You can't do that, and you don't survive very long. So negotiate with these companies. There's nothing wrong with it. It's amazing how bad they wanted Eagle Point, because I'm on the east side of Houston. I know my property is the best golf course on the east side, and there's nowhere else to go. So I was not going to give in to them, and I gave in to them for years. And when I kicked them out, that was a kick to their heart. And then we negotiated.
I have another question for Keith, but we haven't heard from Glenn yet. And if y'all are going to let him give his introductory speech.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm certainly here to it's more of an education process for me. I haven't had to have a tee time in quite some time at the facility I'm currently at. So, and we certainly don't sell them. But as a national officer and as a national board member, there is the Tee Time Coalition that is in place, and certainly in the infancy stages, and we are working in collaboration with the NGCOA, and the PGA is proactively taking an approach to trying to control how these tee time companies really actively sell the tee times and really create more of a competitive, balanced market. And I think that's what everybody's talking about up here today. And like I said, for me, it's more of an education today, kind of hearing from the panel as well as hearing from you, and really. And I think listening and taking notes and understanding what we can do as we go back and talking to our PGA President Paul Levy. Paul and I had a long conversation on Sunday about this topic, and he is part of the board for the Tee Time Coalition, as well as Jeff Price and quite a few other esteemed people in the golf industry. So I think it's still in the early stages. The coalition, their job is to certainly try and educate the golf professionals, and I think it's important for each and every one of us to continue to learn and try and understand what really takes place and understand the deal that you've made with whichever company it might be. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and learn and listen, and certainly will answer any questions that I can from a national level, and try and certainly take back a lot of input today, and certainly take that back into the boardroom.
Yeah, Keith, how many other companies like your company, that I'm going to say PGA-owned tee time services, are out there throughout the United States that you're aware of?
So any that operate like me, I don't know of another one. If there is one, I don't know of it. And maybe it's another regional area. I'm the only one that's not going to charge the golf course a dime. The entire service is free. I make my revenue off the booking fee the same way that GolfNow does. And through Golf North Texas, we offer golfers a membership to that site. And so it's a small monthly fee, $5 or $10, depending on the level. And they have access to any discounts that you guys offer yourself, whatever discount you want to offer, or just straight rack rate. And those members of that site, they don't pay any booking fees when they book. So the goal is to promote more rounds, higher rate per round, really just push volume. I don't want to have to compete with you to sell a time that I own versus a time that you own, because obviously that's a huge conflict of interest, and I'm going to be benefited more by selling my time as opposed to yours.
What are your marketing plans to get your company on an equal level with GolfNow? So when people go to look for tee times, they think of Purpose Golf equally as they do GolfNow. I think that's the challenge. GolfNow is so big, you feel like you can't not do some business with them, even though you don't want to. I mean, that's another question for you, Ronnie. How did you switch your customers over to use Purpose Golf and not use GolfNow? Weren't they already kind of conditioned to look at GolfNow first?
Definitely. I mean, I still have customers coming in every day wanting to know why we don't use GolfNow. But the bottom line is I only have Purpose Golf listed on my website because we're not digital. We're a paper tee sheet still. We're antiquated, and we're still very successful being antiquated. And as Philip mentioned earlier, you know, about a golf professional in my demographic said he's out on the island. You know what? I'm on the island because everybody in my demographic uses GolfNow, but our facility in Pecan Hollow. All the other facilities in my demographic use them. And, you know, as I alluded to earlier, we're having the best year we ever had, you know. And I think there's a lot of reasons. We've had some great weather conditions. And the bottom line is you got to be resourceful as a golf professional. You've got to create relationships. You have to drive business, you know. And that's what we're there to do. That's what we're supposed to do. When we hand these tee sheets over to these third-party tee time providers, basically they're doing the work for you. You're not doing anything, you know. You're catering to that customer that wants to come out and play cheap golf, you know. And the bottom line is that's what we got to make an impact in the business and change that mentality. You know, we got to eliminate that mentality.
I want to touch on real quick on what Ronnie just said and what Mr. Singletary brought up. You know, what he said. The question was from Robert Singletary was, what difference or what efforts did you make when you got off GolfNow? What marketing efforts did you do? Well, I think what people don't give themselves enough credit for, especially these facilities, is how many people that would have booked through GolfNow, if you don't have GolfNow, how many of those people would have just gone to your website and booked? And I think that's something huge that we found. Our average rate online tee time booking went from about $22 to $40 when we got off of them. So if that doesn't tell the story, I don't know what does. And what else that really hit me, what Ronnie just said, was I've got people coming to my facility time after time after time still saying, you're not on GolfNow, but where are they? They're at his facility. He doesn't have GolfNow.
So for me, with GolfNow, we were paying him about $30,000 a year, because my rate, that one tee time they traded every day, was sold right off the bat. We'd see it every day, and I might have on a bad rainy day, I'd have 20 people on the tee sheet, but that tee time was always sold every time, which drove me nuts. You still got to keep your facility open no matter what you do. So when I went to golf18.com, I've dropped that $10,000. $10,000 went back in my pocket. I understand why facilities do it because they don't have money for marketing, and I get that. But there's a point of no return. What I would suggest is go back to your owners and say, why don't we put in $30,000 to invest in a tee time system like Purpose Golf? If that's what, because that's about the most that I've heard that anybody loses on that trade time is 30 grand. Now, people may lose more, but that's the highest that I've ever heard. So it's $30,000 an investment to do some marketing with. And then we own our tee sheets back, all of us. And to me, it's that simple. We just have to stand up to the ownership and say, look, it's all coming back to us. I don't have a problem that we charge as a facility a $15 rate. That's our choice. But I have a problem when someone else is selling your facility for a price that they think it's worth. That's an issue to me.
You know, I'd like to hear some success stories from GolfNow from some of you operators that use them. So I would really like to hear from some of you folks on why you use them, and I want to hear a success story using GolfNow. Is anybody willing to give us one?
If you would, when you raise
Yeah.
your hand, just please wait
Yeah.
for the mic because we are videoing this and we do need the audio for this.
Hi, David Kerwin with Hawks Creek Golf Club. Prior to coming up here in 2011, though, I started in the business in '93 in Southern California. So when you talk about online tee times, I look at it as a single source for golf courses. And in Southern California, for Torrey Pines, it was Melissa, for guys that might have been around there. You couldn't get on Torrey Pines without calling Melissa to get a tee time. And that was kind of the start of the single source person to get on a golf course. Iowa, we really didn't run into it. We were kind of like Jeff. We were destination courses. It was too far to travel to the next course, so we didn't fight that. In 2000, when I come to Southern Texas, boom, here we go. Golf 512, I think, in Austin, and what was it in Houston, Jeff?
Golf 18.
Golf 18 in Houston. So I'm managing Plum Creek in Austin, Cypress Lakes in Houston, and to get recognition, you almost were forced to go to some online source like that. Now the good news was we're dealing with single operators, single person entities like Purpose Golf, and some competitions going on. So I was able to negotiate the bottom, the minimum that they would put it on the website for. I also had a cap. So like in Houston, once they got $28,000, they were done. All the times after that were mine, not theirs. So I controlled what they sold it for at both locations, and I capped out what they got at the top. That worked good until along comes GolfNow, and Golf 18 gets bought up, Golf 512 gets bought up, and the first question I got, you know, if you make a run at them, they're going to come to buy your company. It's a business decision. It's tough to turn them down. I knew both those operators very well. They hated selling, but it was $1 million offer for a $500,000 business. How do you turn it down?
Well, I think when it gets to that point, it's proving that your model is successful. And then whether you think I would sell or not, I would tell you I'm not going to. I believe in the model. I believe in the community that we have as PGA professionals, and I'm seeing the damage that it's doing. So if I was to sell to them, I would be turning my back on the PGA member. My goal is to make this as successful as possible here and take it nationwide and really make a difference throughout the whole country. That's my goal.
And I respect that, and I agree with that, and I hope that's true. I started lobbying the PGA, though, back in Southern Texas about getting our national association get a handle on this before it gets out of control like it did. What they do, they sign a contract with the Golf Channel. So, Glenn, you might know how many years we locked into that?
I believe that Golf Channel contract is until 2029.
So you're right, we need to do something. I would love to support you on this. 18% of my revenue is from GolfNow, $288,000 a year, plus the web page and the electronic tee sheet. So it's hard for me to go back to my city and say, hey, this is a good program, we need to stop it, we need to get competitive, but you know, I'm dealing with businessmen too, and they're gonna sit there and look at the numbers and go, are you crazy?
So let me ask you a question. So we were doing about 114,000 on average through GolfNow. The first year we dropped them, our revenue went up almost 6%. So is it really all incremental revenue? Is $288,000 all coming in because of GolfNow? Or is it because they like your golf course and they're going through GolfNow and they think that's the cheapest way to play?
Yeah, that's the unknown. I know, but the trouble is my numbers are there. So when I'm dealing with my city council, it's hard to argue. You could say, yes, there are success stories. I could tell them, yes, I succeed without GolfNow in the industry for lots of years without them. And we did fine, but now I've got a fixed expense with a web page and a tee sheet. So expenses have gone up and you're gambling on the revenue going down.
So how many trade times do y'all give away a day?
2, one right before our old historic twilight time. And then, yeah, 10:18 and 12:33. My problem up in North Texas was I couldn't fight the twilight times. Twilight, for all of us that have been in the industry, were 3 hours before you close the doors. Twilight times now are 5.5, 6 hours out. So golf professionals are discounting their own golf courses. So you're telling me it's a $40 tee time at 11:30 and it's a $20 tee time at 11:40?
So I'd like to say one thing. From what I've learned with their golf courses and others that I've worked with and talked to, the incremental revenue is somewhere around 15 to 20% of actual money that GolfNow brought you. You wouldn't have had that.
Right.
So let's just do a quick calculation. Let's say you're doing 300,000. We'll round it up to make it easy. And let's say you're doing 20% incremental revenue. That's $60,000 a year. Your 2 trade times per day are costing you anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000 each in opportunity cost. So at best, it's a break even for you.
Except you got to put the expense back on there of the tee sheet and,
Well, sure.
and the marketing.
But
I got rid of a $50,000 a year marketing expense by going with them.
But
That
what is
was
that
budgeted.
marketing? That marketing is bringing you in $60,000 at best in incremental, plus the opportunity cost. It's a break even between trade times and that opportunity cost, or that incremental revenue. A full tee sheet, point of sale, email system, website should cost you absolutely no more than $10,000 a year. And it's so important for that to be independent, because the courses that have GolfNow point of sale systems, they control who you can partner with. They're not going to let me in the door. You're not going to be able to partner with me because they're going to say, no, we don't want that competition. They're telling you now who you can and can't partner with. It's another serious part of the slippery slope when it comes to getting married to them, essentially. The divorce is very painful.
And I'm all in favor of getting rid of them. And I mean, I'm going to do what I can to
So
try
let
to
me
get
ask you
signed
a
up on
question.
Purpose Golf.
In theory, tomorrow, everyone in this room says, we're done with it. Are people going to stop playing golf if they're not on GolfNow?
But the whole thing is PGA needs to get together and be unified on their stance. And I think that starts with our national office putting out some clear-cut, defined marketing ideas. I mean, if you're going to market with GolfNow, we recommend cap their trade time.
Well, and I think that's where the coalition comes in, and certainly setting the standards. And that's a big part of where it's at. And certainly events like today will help us as far as understanding, getting more data, and understanding what takes place out there. So there's no doubt, but it's up to each of us as golf professionals, as PGA golf professionals, to continue to, as Ronnie said, build that business and build those relationships with our customers. and build it through a foundation of our junior golf programs and start it from the ground up. And so often we get so caught up in the day-to-day business that we forget to build those programs and build those junior golf programs and continue to really drive that business from the floor up. And Chuck can certainly speak to that a little bit. And as far as the employment side goes, the more that we don't drive our business and the more we devalue our positions in the industry. And I think it's important that we continue to understand that. And yes, it's easy, and it's, as you're stating, it's very difficult to break the habit.
It is. It's tough. And another thing, I think we need to support our own members like this on this venture. I mean, we've got to get our members back in control of the golf industry, not corporate, not the pencil pushers and the accountants. We need to get the golf pros back involved in our industry.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
I think David brings up a good point when he talks about we need to come together as PGA members. Is it our responsibility to enact change? Is it the section's responsibility? Is it National's responsibility? Or is it the owners and operators? Whose responsibility is it, Jeff?
In my opinion, it's our responsibility. It goes right back to us, and we have to. And you can blame. You know, we all like to blame other things on all people, and we've done it forever. But we got to take ownership in this regard. We're smarter than everybody else. We know the game of golf better than anybody else. So did GolfNow or did any of the Tee Time networks come to you and say, hey, we want to sponsor the section? No, they didn't. Not one of them even offered to do anything to grow the game. So they're not just taking the money from our facilities, they're not helping us grow the game. So this year, and I applaud what the PGA has done with PGA Junior League. We have made an impact on growing the game. And that's one effort that we have to continue to do. So we're going to keep bringing golfers in. Let's keep giving them our trade times. Let's keep paying these other companies to do our job. And that's, we have to take ownership. It comes down to us. It's as simple as that.
And there will continue to be education, and certainly through the education programs, but through Junior League Golf, through Drive, Chip, and Putt, through all those different avenues. If you're not doing them at your facility, then you need to really do a check and find out why you're not doing them and why you're not doing year-round junior golf programs. Because everybody, you know, the successful ones are right now, and that's a big part of it. Certainly Chuck can talk to that, but that's a big part of where we have to continue to go. Every sport, except some, and now golf is, but every other sport is year-round. And so we've always had this thing, we can only do our junior programs in the summer. We should be running junior programs nonstop, and I think if we can do that, then that'll certainly, it builds that foundation. It gets those families coming back into the business. In today's society, family is critical, and that's who's coming to your golf courses. Now, they're still going to go to GolfNow and look for the tee time, for the inexpensive tee time. And so I think if we can do that, you're collecting those databases. You have those people. You create that loyalty. We don't really beat our own drum enough as PGA golf professionals. We're the ones that are teaching them. We're the ones that are growing their families and helping their families learn the game. We've got to make sure that we're continuing to play on those relationships and get them to be involved. At that point, once they're connected at your facility, they're not going to go anywhere else. They're not going to have to go to that online tee time. They're just going to automatically come to your club. Chuck, I think you had a question.
Well, so I would say that obviously I think those are great points with engaging the family, and that's certainly a discussion we've got to have. But I want to talk about the GolfNow and first applaud you guys for starting this discussion 2 years ago, because in a lot of markets, GolfNow is the elephant in the room that no one's willing to talk about. But it is certainly a discussion that's got to be had. Now, the two things that I think GolfNow sells, and sells hard, and I bought in big time when I was at Battle Egg, is the first thing that they say is, hey, give us a lousy tee time. Give us one of your worst tee times, because it has no value to it. The second thing that they sell is that we're going to bring you new golfers. We're going to bring you new customers to your golf course, so it's a win-win. The first one, the fact that a lousy tee time has no value, that's not true at all, because here's what happens. When they sell you, if you're a $40 golf course and they sell that tee time for $15, and believe me, they're going to sell it. We all know they're going to sell that trade time, okay? It has completely eroded your price integrity, and that's one of the numbers that has got to stay high. The second thing, when they talk about bringing you new customers, okay, that's a fallacy too. And the point is, all they're doing is moving customers around, okay? So they're bringing a customer from across the street, but one of your customers is going the other direction. And it's all price driven, okay? The second thing about bringing you new customers, what they're doing is they're giving your current customers the ability to now play at a much, much reduced rate, okay? So let's live in fantasy world. If my wife and I were regulars at Albernay's on Saturday at 6 p.m., just like Ronnie's got regulars on Saturday morning and Philip and all of that. Now, it's fantasy world because, as a lot of you know, I have twins in diapers, so there's no Saturday night dinners. But let's stay in fantasy world. If all I had to do was on Monday or Tuesday go on to food.now, okay, foodnow.com, and see that I could eat at Capitol Grill, and instead of spending $150 for dinner, we could go eat for $35 or $40, because those are the levels of discounts that are happening. Guess what? I'm going to Capitol Grill. Okay, I just switched my loyalty. So I think the thing that we need to do is we need to drive the customers that they find the best deal at your website and your website only. You've got to own your database. I'm getting on an airplane here pretty quick, and if I want the lowest flight that Southwest or American Airlines has to offer, I've got to go to their websites. They were smart enough to figure this out years ago. As an industry, we haven't really done that. But I think it's really, really important to understand that the two things that GolfNow sells the most are complete falsehoods. They're not bringing you new customers, and they're completely eroding your price integrity. And I think that's a number that's really, really important.
Chuck, thank you for your comments. That kind of leads me into something I want to show you before we continue even further. I mentioned earlier that GolfNow is literally laughing at us about how much trade they sell. And so back in June, they had a 6-month salesman conference for GolfNow. And they recorded this entire conference and they posted it online, but they didn't password protect it, so anyone could go see it. A prominent golf consultant, J.J. Keegan, got a hold of the video, captured the data, and posted it on his blog. And he's saved an excerpt of it and posted it to his blog. And I want to show you that excerpt of their conference. And then I want to talk about the numbers that we discovered that are direct from them from this conference about the business they're doing in the U.S. And so to kind of give you a little background, you'll see an introduction. It's the Senior Vice President of GolfNow introducing 2 of his salespeople. They sell trade by the boatload. I'm going to turn that off, but I'd like to get y'all's reaction to that video.
All right. Well, bottom line is they're kind of making fun of us, I mean, they really are. They're making fun of the facilities and the golf professionals. That's how I view it. I may be viewing it wrong, but, and it's comical how they can stand up and and make fun about how much money they make on these trade times. But as Keith mentioned earlier, you know, they made $100 million in trade times. And basically, if they continue on this pace, you know, they're going to own the golf industry. They're going to own it on the public sector. I mean, it might not be in my time, but it's going to happen. You know, and you know, like Glenn mentioned earlier, you know, they have a contract with the Golf Channel to 2029. You know, I won't be in the golf business in 2029, but there's a lot of people in this room that could be, and probably will be. So, you know, bottom line is the only people that's going to make a difference is you guys in this room, and not just the guys in this room. It's everybody across this country. And I'll just give you an example. I talked to a lady from Vancouver, Canada, on the phone last week, and I was talking to her about something outside of third-party tee times. She operates multiple facilities in Vancouver, Canada, and we got on the subject of third-party tee times. And I asked her, I said, "Do y'all use GolfNow up there?" She goes, "No, we do not." She said her whole entire province had a meeting like this, and they all went in together and said they were not going to use GolfNow. And today, that happened 4 years ago, and there's not one facility in that province that use GolfNow. And they've tried to get into that market, and they continue to push them back. Until we do something like that, we're going to continue traveling down this path, but they're going to own this business.
I agree with Ronnie there. That was just a wake-up call for me, and it made me look at my business a lot different. And I'll give you an example. In 15-16, 34% of our rounds were rack rate. My discounted rounds were 19%, but only 17% of the revenue. The rack rate was 51% of the revenue. It wasn't hard for me to figure out where I need to focus my time. It's to get your rack rate. You have to work on what's going to bring more money into your facility. The other one that was a big key component to me was tournament rounds. Tournament rounds were 25%, and everybody in this room knows a tournament round brings in more revenue than anything else that we do. And that was 32% of the revenue. That's without merchandise. That's without food and beverage. That's just green fee, cart fee. So we continue to go down the road, discount our facilities, discount our rates. Guess what? The spiral just keeps going down and down and down. And unless we stand up and do something about it, we're just going to get worse off and worse off. So guys, let's band together and let's do something.
I think one of the questions that you have to ask yourself also is what's it cost you to run your operation? What's your cost of goods sold for running your facility? How many maintenance crew do you have? How many golf professionals do you have? How much staff do you have to run your facility? And really create a value equation. In doing so, you're going to find that maybe that it's not important to have as many rounds of golf. That's more about the quality as opposed to the quantity.
You know, I wanted to make one comment about what Bob got up and said. You know, it's very interesting to me. You know, Ronnie asked for the feedback of I want to hear a success story, and so far I've only heard one story about an individual getting up and talking about his facility and what GolfNow told him that they brought into his facility, which is very believable, and it's very understandable that you'd be scared to get off something that's, let's say, near $300,000. But as Keith alluded to, it's very incremental of what business they actually brought you and what business you bring in yourself. And we're a perfect example of that. They were bringing in $114,000. We didn't make money that year. The next year we got off of them, we made money. We made 6% more. You know, Chuck Higgins, charge of player development, PGA of America, very nice to be here. He also owned his own golf course. And let me tell you something, he owned a golf course that was in a very rural area that he had to get creative to produce rounds. He understands the golf business. He also understands the PGA of America side of it. He sees what GolfNow and other third-time providers are doing to the golf industry. we are the only ones at this point in time that can make a difference. And if you get an entire province in Canada to say we're off of golf now, you think we could get North Texas market to say, hey, let's increase our round per golfer. Let's get off the cocaine, because that's basically what it seems like it is when you're on it. And I'm going to tell you, I still remember this vividly, when that 3 o'clock came in to book his tee time and didn't give me any money, it really irritated me. And it still does. I'm not going to lie to you. It irritates me because we're smarter than that. We're better business people than that. We can do better. There's no question in my mind. I think somebody's got a question.
I just wonder, is Hawks Creek advertising golf now, like on their website? Is that like you click a button and then it goes straight to there instead of calling the shop? Because that seems like a pretty.
We use their website to go to our website. We don't reverse it.
Okay, that's what I was.
Our times on our website are cheaper than GolfNow. Because if you put booking fee on top of GolfNow, so
Well, cheaper than your regular times, but not the trade times.
book it where they book it 35 on our own website, and we can't grow our website. I mean, we do a little bit.
That was my only question.
It's crazy that our website can't grow. I mean, I think people they say they're hooked on the cocaine. GolfNow on the cell phone is the easier to go to than, check 5 or 6 other websites.
So the only thing I would add, the question was, what does that video tell us? And Ronnie, you're right on point. They're making fun of us, right? They're laughing all the way to the bank. The second thing that it tells me is that their only motivation is to sell trade times. That is why they exist, is to sell trade times. And they're gonna dress it up and do all the things with, websites and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is, the only thing they care about is selling their trade times, and they're gonna sell it for as low as whatever price needed to get that trade time sold. You mentioned J.J. Keegan. Jim Coperhaven told a story, and he's another consultant in the industry. He told a story. He was in Chicago. There was 2 feet of snow on the ground, and he went on to GolfNow, and he bought a trade time at a golf course that had 2 feet of snow on it for later that day. Actually went to the golf course and said, hey, do you know that GolfNow is selling this trade time to me today? And they're like, well, we're not open. And he's like, yeah, no. But that, to me, again, that's the level of that they will go to. And again, it's the only motivation is to sell that trade time.
I want to make one more comment before we move on. When we got off GolfNow, they literally called me or emailed me every single month for over a year. Why do you think they did that? Anybody know why they did that? They did it because we're worth about $30,000 to them or more. That's why they did it. They needed me because they wanted my revenue. So if that doesn't tell the story, I don't know what does.
And I think what Chuck just talked about as far as them selling a tee time that doesn't exist or at a facility that's closed, that's where the Tee Time Coalition comes in. And there will certainly, Jared Williams will be the managing director of that, and is certainly he's gonna have a compliance officer. There's gonna be opportunities where when something like that happens, it needs to be reported. That needs to go through the process. And so that on a national level, we can at least address it and start to work our way through that. And I think that's the first step. It's a complicated political challenge, there's no doubt. But I think that it starts with everybody understanding what the challenge is at your facility and understanding where your business is and understanding how much you're giving up.
I actually have a question for you. You're the only one that really touched on the type of customer it brings, and the type of customer is somebody that would book a tee time in 2 feet of snow or show up 2 hours before their tee time, and they got a foursome booked on GolfNow, but they want their own cart and they want to go at this time and they want to do this, and almost you feel like you're this desperate golf pro for somebody you don't even know. There's a total disconnect in the customer, and then your customer service is bad because you're like, well, the tee's wide open, but you can't go until 150. I mean, that was my biggest struggle with it, to be honest.
Well, the consumer has control, and they have the gavel, basically, because they can go to the GolfNow blog, and they can berate your facility to no end on a bad experience. Perfect example of all the people that go and blog against all these facilities, those are all the trade time golfers. They get a bad experience. I just talked to Chad earlier. You know, his 150 tee time is his trade time. His consumer calls him up, says, you know, I got the 150, but can I tee off at 12 o'clock? You know, and not 150. Chad says, yeah, you can tee off at 12 o'clock, but you have to pay the 12 o'clock rate. You're not going to get the 150 rate. But that's the type of consumer that the trade time, tee times are bringing out to your facilities. We've had so many poor experiences with those trade time golfers at my facility. It pretty much wore my staff out. So I was so glad when we dropped GolfNow 2 years ago. And as I said earlier, we've been very successful not having them. And we got the City of Dallas golf pros here. We got Jim and Mickey and Brent. You know, I'd like to hear from these guys. And I know Jim's place is incredible. I know he does very well there. And we'd like to hear from you guys and tell us why you guys are so successful and not using GolfNow.
Okay, I won't need a microphone.
Well, we're going to record it for the video.
Well, yeah, I got to be real careful here. Okay, well, before I get started, if I insult anybody here, it's not my intent. Okay, you know, my wife says English is my second language. I don't have a first language, is what she says. So I don't remember when. I remember when GolfNow tried to get in for the city of Dallas, and Mickey was there. And is there another Dallas golf pro here? Okay, and Brett. Well, we didn't think it was a good deal. But let me just back up just one other thing. The problem with, God, there's so many little points here I want to make. But first of all, we own the golf course. We own all the tee times. Nobody's holding a gun to our head making us use GolfNow. Everybody thought they were going to get something for nothing. They thought they were going to get a tee sheet management system or marketing for nothing. And these guys aren't laughing. These guys are just making a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing. They're making a lot of money. We're not making any money, and they're making the money. That's the American way. It's costing us money. We're the one providing these guys their income. There's no doubt. They have no product. We have the product. The golf industry, for some reason, across the industry, we're just idiots because we discount everything. I mean, we are idiots. I'm just telling you. Now, I'm saying it. Every one of you guys that are using GolfNow, you got to look at yourself and say, what did I do? I made a mistake here. If you're still using it, you're making a mistake. There's no doubt about it. I'm like Yogi Bear. I'm 200% sure that you're making a mistake. There's just no way you're not making a mistake. Now, you can accept it or not. It's just like Philip said, it's like cocaine. It's like drugs. Don't buy the drugs. They're not going to be able to sell it. Don't furnish them the tee time. They can't sell it. They'll go out of business right away. We're the ones keeping them in business. Now, I'm not trying to sell anything for Keith. What he's offering, it seems like a really good product. And I'm not saying we won't use it someday. But I'm just saying what GolfNow is selling you is crap. It's like one of these investments, like one of these stock deals you can't miss. And you just throw your money into it, and all of a sudden, 2 or 3 years down the line, you're broke, and you're thinking, what happened here? They got the money, and they're making it on you guys. Okay? We never bought into it, and I guess we were just lucky. I don't think we're smart. I don't know if Mickey and I are any smarter than anybody else here. Well, I will tell you, we might be better looking, but we're not very smart. But anyway, it's just as simple as you can't discount your product. You can't discount merchant. Another pet peeve of mine is merchandise, but look at all the discount houses that go out of business. Look at all of the golf companies that are getting out of the golf club business because they can't make any money. If Nike can't make any money, selling golf clubs, because everything's discounted. And now we're discounting our green fees. You can't give something away, period. You can't. And like he said, these guys have hit every single point. I came here I wanted to hear what everybody has to say. But y'all have hit every single point. Is my green fee today, right now, is $43. It's worth $43. If you're a senior, it's worth $32. It's not worth $28. It's not worth a nickel less than $43. I'm not going to discount it. And then you brought up the tournament thing. If I have a tournament, I'm not going to discount it for a tournament. Matter of fact, I'm going to add a little extra to it because of all the services I'm going to give. Everybody thinks they're going to come into one of these facilities and try to get a deal on a tournament. No, we're going to charge you an extra $3 or $4 because we're going to do carts and everything. You can't give your stuff away. Now, I wish Rusty was here, Rusty Pulley. I've had this conversation, and I'm not insulting you guys, but you guys are wrong. You can't be any more wrong. Now, these guys are being really polite. I don't have to be polite. Mickey listens to me all the time. I've got a direct line to him, but it's wrong. And I will tell you this. They came at us hard. We had meetings, and they met with us individually. They met with us as a team. Then when we kept saying, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going to discount our rates. Next thing they did, they went to our bosses, the assistant. They went to the superintendent of special services. They went to the assistant director. They went to our park and recreation director, and then they went to a council member. We still turned them down. Why were they doing that? Because of all the money they were going to make on us. Does that make them evil? No, I don't. I disagree with evil. I disagree that they're bad. They're just making money, but we're the ones letting them make money, and it's not. And you're not making a nickel off these people. I'm telling you, and you're just better off now. I've been on both ends of the deal. Where's Bobby's here, right? Yeah, I've been on your end of the deal where I was going broke because of the facility. And so, but we still didn't go with GolfNow. And now I've been on the other end of the facility now that we've got a brand new facility and we're making money. But we don't discount a single green fee. The other thing we're real careful about is the charity stuff where everybody wants free rounds of golf now. I mean, I've got a file. I've got a separate file just for charity request. And it's got hundreds of emails where people are wanting free. They think we just give golf away. You can't give golf away, period. It's got a value to it, whatever your value is. If like today's $43 for me. If that's really not my value, it should be $40, then get your rate to $40. I mean, get whatever your rate should be, but you cannot discount it. You can't give it away. You've got to figure out what your price is and hold it to it. And then if you want to make more money, then you improve your facility. You give better service, but you can't give the stuff away.
Jim, would you come to Houston, sit on a panel? Because after we're finished here, we want to take this show on the road to Houston and the South Texas market. And
We'll pay your way, Jim.
Jim, thank you. I'm here representing Grapevine and Rusty because he had to work so I could come play golf today. But I've been at Grapevine a couple of years now, mostly in the private club sector most of my career, and it was quite a learning curve, and I've enjoyed it very much. But one of the things, I just address what we do at Grapevine, our primary purpose and maybe a little bit of success is we felt like we needed online access. We needed our customers looking to make tee times online, whether they're in the younger age, everybody uses phones, computers, and everything else. So that was our intent. We've had a bit of a struggle at Grapevine because we can't, we go through multiple server city firewalls, and even to do any kind of online tee sheet is impossible for us. So we don't have one. We use our website, use theirs. We do 3 GolfNow times and 2 trade times a day. The trade times do go fast. Our other 3 times pretty much go. They're at our rate. We do control that rate, and they're at full rate, and we've never discounted those. But you do see trends, and certainly the trade times, they'll book sometimes 4 or 5 days out, so they're paying a little higher rate. But like I was just looking at it today, I had 2 booked today. My 127 time, which is a trade time right before twilight. So we're getting a website, we're getting marketing. That was costing us about $4,000 or $5,000 a year. We've talked to Keith about helping us develop that. We want to switch to you guys, and if I can convince Rusty, we will. But my bigger point is that GolfNow is a huge, big elephant. We've let it grow out of control. How are we as golf professionals going to combat that? We're 22,000, however many members we have, a bunch of independent thinkers, independent contractors. We're all allowed to do everything different. If we don't all come together, we will never, kill this big elephant. And my question to you, from a PGA standpoint, well, wait a minute, we've got a contract with this company. We're not going to do anything against them as PGA professionals or as PGA. That would offset our revenue coming in. I'm sure it's TV deals and whatnot or is that contract, can we break that? If all of our members voted to end that contract with GolfNow, would it happen? And could the PGA ever get behind a company like Keith's company and endorse that so we can have advertisements all over TV saying, go to Purpose Golf to book your tee times?
Well, I think that the relationship is with the Golf Channel, and certainly Golf Channel owns GolfNow. But I think that as each section, well, it is. But as each section goes forward, and that's why I'm here, to certainly listen and take information back. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of revenue that's generated by our relationships and our contracts. And certainly try and driving those back to the sections. We're driving a lot more money back to the sections today than we were 4 years ago, and certainly by way of education and certainly and employment and other opportunities. So I certainly hear you. I hear you loud and clear, and we'll certainly take that back.
Glenn, while we're on that topic here, taking it back to national, we got this video here. Why don't you take it back to one of your board meetings and show this video at the board meeting? Why don't you talk to Paul, see if you can pull that off, and really hear some real feedback of the impacts of GolfNow? Is that a possibility?
It's certainly a possibility. And I think that obviously this is a group of PGA golf professionals, and this is very political for me, and certainly being here representing the PGA of America and Southern Texas, North Texas, and Sun Country. But I'm here to represent the members. I'm here to represent each and every one of y'all, and that's why I made the decision to be here today. So I'll certainly take it back, and I'll get with Paul, and I'll get with Jeff, and I'll get with the rest of our team, and continue to push forward.
One thing I'd like to circle back to with you, Robert, you talk about, we all know GolfNow is this huge monster. They've kind of grown out of control. Well, what is that? What makes them such a big monster? I think it's two things. It's the amount of inventory they have, and it's the size of their database. And we haven't really talked too much about database and how we grow it individually, but who is in that database? Who are those golfers? Are they people that GolfNow has brought into our market, or are they the golfers that were already playing our facilities 15 years ago, and now they have those emails and they can market their times to them? I think one of the most important things we can do on an individual course level is grow that database. I know, Jonathan, you're probably one of the best social media marketers probably in this room. You could probably talk to that a little bit if you'd like to. But he does a great job. How many followers do you have on Facebook? 7,000. We probably have less than 1,000 here. We don't do as well of a job as he does. That's a huge advantage for him. He can get a message out directly to people who like his golf course, and any special or marketing he wants to do direct to them. So I'd like to talk about how do we grow our database, how important is that database specifically. I don't know if you want to.
How do you track your Facebook players that come to your facility?
That's what Jason and I were just actually talking about. We've actually need to do a better job of tracking that and figure out how many of those followers are actually coming out. Now, I've gone through some of our posts, and you can look at a lot. We get 250 likes on a post, and I'll go through those likes, and I'll take each individual name, and some of those names are very unique, and I'll go through our database in our system and see. I mean, you're seeing probably a good 75 to 80% of those people that are liking those posts that actually have played the golf course in the last year. So, I mean, you can look at it that way and see some results there. But, I want to create a survey. I was talking to him the other day, create a survey of all the people that check in. Do you have Facebook? Do you have Twitter? Do you have Instagram? Are you following Water Chase on these? When was the last time you saw a post on there? And I think that'd be a great way to kind of see exactly what the results are. But I do think there's a direct connection to how much play you're getting, and that, you know, we post all the time how our conditions, and that's what we're trying to focus a lot on, conditions and how good the quality of the golf course is, and trying to get people to view us as a, you know, $70 golf course, not as, like you're saying, a discounted fee. And we were on Golf Now for, I don't know, how many years before I got there?
I guess in speaking about success stories, we might fall into that category. So we were on Golf Now in their infancy, and when the trade came out, we were like, okay, not 100% sure whether we're on board with it, but let's try it. And so we were on it for a couple years, hired Jonathan in 2010, 2011, and kind of one of his first things was, I think we need to get off this thing. So we did a little work on that, and we did. I think 2011 we jumped off of it, really didn't see any major hiccups in our revenue, actually saw our revenue grow a little bit, and thought, man, this is great. One thing that we have that I don't know that everybody in this room does have is we're an independent golf course and we're well resourced, and our owners have the ability to say, hey, we'll roll the dice on this. We want to try this. And so we had the ability to do that, which was tremendous. And so we were off of them for a number of years, and they kind of sweated us a little bit. They'd hit us up and want to see if we had any interest, and we respectfully declined for a number of years. And then earlier this year, well, no, I take it back. It was a couple years ago, Harry sold his company to Golf Now, and I was stunned. I mean, I saw that news and I didn't believe it. I had to call 4 reservations and find out for myself from those guys that I knew there. Yeah, he did in fact sell it to Golf Now. You talk about a stab in the back. But they came around and we were ready to pull the trigger on changing our point of sale system, because the moment they tried to enforce a trade deal with us for us to utilize their point of sale system, wasn't going to happen. We had ownerships backing on that. We could go, and so we started looking at a couple other point of sale options that were out there. They never did it to us, to their credit. They kept us at an annual licensing fee. Our receipt numbers are now over 1 million. So we've been with 4 reservations originally since the golf course opened in 2000. And they kind of let us be. And they came back to us and sweated us. And I said, look, I'm only interested in a commission model. And they said, hey, we do commission. It's like, what? You guys have never done commission before in the past? Oh, yeah, we've got a commission option. And I don't know if every conversation in this room could be bypassed if they went with a commission-based model with Golf Now. They probably wouldn't do it because it's not as lucrative a deal. But in March of this year, we hopped on with an 80-20 split, which is a little better than their 70-30 or 75-25 that they had. And now that I know there's a 10% out there, we may go back to the table on that. But, you know, they're incremental revenue for us. We're selling all of our green fees on Golf Now's website at our rack rate, no discount. So our green fee at the golf course on a Saturday morning, $69.99. You go on to Golf Now's website, it's listed on there for $69.99. If you want to pay it, great. There's a booking fee on there. You're going to pay a little more with them. We've done about $36,000 in revenue to our bottom line with these guys. They've made about $12,000 off of us. So, you know, at the end of the day, with their booking fees, it's a 75-25 split. But the customers that have come to our golf course through Golf Now that are paying those rates, they more resemble our customers. Their buys and their spends at the golf course are probably better than our average, and we really haven't had huge issues with them. The only thing we've had issues with is a little miscommunication. If we aerify and reduce our rates to our twilight rate, boy, those Golf Now guys will clamp on that. Oh, that rate's less than what it normally is, and they're on it. And they show up and they didn't bother to read the fine print that said, hey, we just aerified our greens. So we apologize and move on down the road. But for us, to this point, it's been a little bit of a win for us. I mean, it hadn't really impacted us, but it's the trade component. It's the fact that we're not trading. They're not selling our golf course for a dime less than we're selling it. They're actually selling it for more.
Let me ask a question. Do they own your database?
No, they don't.
I'll just be brief. We dropped Golf Now about 2 years ago from Texas Star when we did the renovations to the golf course. And And to be honest, I was a little bit like David. I was a little scared of what that might happen because I report to a city council and so forth as well, who owns our golf course. And you know, since we have a point of sale system with Club Profit Systems, which no longer integrates with GolfNow, so we kind of use that as an excuse not to, you know, in order to drop GolfNow. Because it doesn't integrate with our tee sheet, and there's no way I wanted to create the work for my staff to go back and forth from online bookings to our tee sheet with double bookings and so forth, especially since the type of customer that was brought up back here that we dealt with as well, that would come out and make really big demands on the staff. Now, since then, we found that, you know, certainly a renovation helps your bottom line. You know, it always adds about 6 to 8% when you reopen and so forth. So we had a profitable first year. And then this year has also been profitable for us without doing that. Now, as far as social media and things like that go, we have our own database, developing emails and so forth. But I also use a company called Text My Market, which is a texting market. And I pay about $70 a month in order to have that. We found that by texting individuals, they'll receive that information a lot quicker than an email database will. You know, and I give away a round of golf a month in order to get individuals to join. And there's other ways to do that. You know, you give a soda away or something like that to get them to sign up on your Text My Market, and they can stop at any time based on the laws that we have for texting and so forth. But when I have a tournament that's dropped us or something in last minute, I can throw out to that database of 4,000 in an instant and just get that tee sheet as filled as possible. Now, it doesn't always work, but for the most part, we do okay with it. At the same time, we found that we can still be profitable by not using them. And so we haven't made that switch back. Now, when we dropped them, we were at a 7-to-1 ratio. You know, so we were profitable at that time. And I would show them the numbers. They would say, hey, this is how many trade times you did. And I said, no, we did more trade times than what you're telling us we did, because I track it. And I tracked how many GolfNow reservations we did, and I track that. I track Purpose Golf. I track the other ones that we do. Right now we're doing a deal that I'm not a fan of, but the city wanted to do it with Ideal Golfer. 200 rounds of golf for the next until February, mid-February. Something I was opposed to because it discounts our golf course. Okay. Now we can put a limit on that, but we're tracking that as well. Jeff's got it in the system under an internet special that is tracking it for us. So all of those things are trackable. You just have to do a little bit extra work. You have to do a little bit extra work on the social media side to get your site up with Facebook and so forth. But it works out in the end if you just give it a chance. So it hasn't hurt our business to this point. So it's kind of a success story both ways, because they did help us in the past, but we're fine now.
That's great information, Dan, and especially from you guys as well, Jason, Jonathan from Water Chase. You know, I think there's something to think about. You know, Keith, when he asked the question, we talk about inventory, okay? And I kind of want to put that inventory in a little bit different perspective. Ronnie talks about all the rounds he was doing in the 97 to 2000 range. And, you know, one comment he made is that that was before the golf boom, all these other developments, all these other golf courses and facilities being created, which obviously takes a lot of the golf hasn't grown much as a whole since 97 to 2000, if any. But yet the golf courses we probably have, I'm just going to throw a number out. Let's say 20 more golf courses in the area. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. On top of that, if you add all these third-party tee time providers, you can add another 3 to 4 golf courses that have added. And when I say that, meaning that we've created 3 or 4 more virtual golf courses by allowing all these third-party tee time providers to come in our industry. So when you get a slow day, let's say, you know, I've never heard anything negative about Grapevine. I've always heard so many positive comments. Same about Texas Star. But think about, I don't think you guys give yourself enough credit of how you're known in the marketplace. So you take a day like, let's say tomorrow, that might be 50 degrees. I know 2 tee times you're going to sell for sure. You're not going to get any money for them, but I know two they're already booked. Yeah. But the point is, we were in that same boat. We're creating too many golf courses on top of being overbuilt. You know, you talk about these databases. You got to create your own database. You got to own your own database, and you got to be at the forefront of creating that database. What Jonathan's doing over there, that's phenomenal. I mean, 7,000 people on Facebook. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that's what this business has become. And if we don't become better marketers, we're backing up.
Thank you, Philip. I'd like to get to kind of speaking in hypotheticals. Can you talk about what would the market look like today if we didn't have trade and all this discounting going on? It's not just GolfNow, it's the Ideal Golfer campaign, it's the Avid Golfer book. Everything that any marketer comes and presents to all of us is, give me a discount on your golf and I can sell it for you. Anybody can sell cheap golf, but we can't all profit from cheap golf. Talk about, if you could, I'll start with you, Ronnie, what do you see the market looking like if we can come together and eliminate all this discounting that we do? We're all competing with each other to get golfers, but we don't also need to be competing with third parties as well.
Well, Keith, I think it's a good question, and I think it's a question I don't even know if I have an answer for, to be quite honest with you, because everything's so discounted. So, you know, to be honest with you, I wouldn't know what it would really look like. We'd have to go back in time, in my opinion, to really see what it would look like. So I don't know if I could really answer that, you know, and give a valid answer. But I would like to ask you a question about that testing component you were talking about. Is that a mobile app that you use to do that? Yeah. It is a mobile app? Okay.
I think we'd be $3 million more in would go more to our bottom line is what I think would happen if we didn't have the discounting. Just Eagle Point alone would be about 25,000 more to the bottom line. So I think that's the answer you're looking for. It's the trade times that we're giving away that we're providing GolfNow or any of the tee time marketing companies that are out there. So,
you know, I think it's even more than that, to be honest with you. I think the price of golf would be higher. You know, if you look at our average golfer per round at $40 for online bookings versus about 22 when we were with GolfNow, that tells enough story to me. Not only is that trade time not there, but the price of golf. And there's more golfers going to be in our market because you're eliminating basically 3 to 4 golf courses, virtual golf courses. There's more golfers in our market if we don't have trade times.
I think, you know, I agree with Philip. I think that you certainly have GolfNow. You've got a lot of other providers also. You've got Easy Links. You've got, you know, several other providers that are out there. Is Distinct Software Solutions, which used to be Course Trends and Golf 18 Network, and there's quite a few others out there that are doing the same thing. And I think if we were able to, number one, market ourselves, use our databases, be able to have the resources to do so, and it's, as I said, I think it's important that each and every one of us understand our facilities. You know, it's hard sometimes to drive the experience. And finding ways to drive that experience and not only with what you're doing out front, but what you're doing with your condition of your golf course. And I don't know if anybody, I certainly haven't experienced it, but I don't think any prices are going down on fertilizer. I know that we're having to pay our golf course maintenance crew more money to just keep employees. It's harder to find people. So I think your cost of goods continues to go up. All of our costs continue to go up, and I think it's important that we take control of our business and from a standpoint of owning our databases, owning our marketing, and really being able to build that foundation through the junior golf, through drive, chip, and putt, through junior league golf, and get the families more involved and get the groups out there, and then drive your business from that point, and then drive it over from the tournament side, and you'll get more repeat business, and making sure you get information on every single golfer that you have. Build your database and use it yourself as opposed to let somebody else use it.
Anybody out there that has had success growing their database on their own, away from third parties, or any tips that you'd like to offer up, even with third parties? Greg, get the.
Fortunately, we have a marketing department with the parks department, which we're actually under, that assists with some of it. But a couple of things, they do cost a little bit of money. We do also have a text messaging service, and we advertise. But a couple of things we've done is offer at the Dallas Golf Show. Jim, you're not going to like this. A free round of golf for your valid email address, of which we will email you your coupon, so that we know it's a good address that they're giving us and not a bogus one that, now they could change that at some point in time. We do have a lot of Facebook followers from that, maybe not as much as Water Chase does, but we currently have about 14,000 in our database that are good golfers. We also, utilizing a third party, anytime you do a deal with them, you ask and request that they give you the database of all the people that purchased it. If they won't do that, we won't do it, because I'm using these vehicles or these tools, in a strategic way to grow our database, so that when we do break free from GolfNow, and if we continue with GolfNow, it'll be on a commission base versus what we are now. But things like that at the Dallas Golf Show gave us a lot of addresses, and we've done that now for 2 years. Of course, with the free round of golf, you charge a promotional cart fee, which is much more than your regular cart fee. So you're basically giving them a little bit of a discount off of their round.
Thank you. I'd like to kind of point our attention quickly to the surveys that you filled out. We were able to gather some great data, not only about your facilities, but as far as what's going through your mind on this topic. And one of the questions I want to point to is really two. Is would you recommend the use of trade times to another course? 73% of you said no, and 27% said yes. And then also, do you believe a market without trade times would be a benefit to your facility? 87% of you said yes, and 13% of you said no. So my question specifically to any facility that's currently with GolfNow or any other third party that said, yes, I believe this will be a benefit to my facility. My question is, what's holding you back? What is it going to take for you to say enough's enough? What is it going to take for you to cut the cord? If anybody would like to comment.
Well, let me take that first.
Go.
I mean, I've been looking for an operator like you, Keith, for a long time that wants to do the right thing. So when I go back to South Texas, I'm going to go to the section. I'm going to try to put this panel together and do this at our annual meeting, because this is the way to success right here. What we're doing today, and that's what I'm going to do when I get back to Southern Texas. The reason I'm on it, because there's too many guys out there that are on it. There's 40, 50 golf courses that are competitors just in the Houston market. And the trade time kills all of them. It's not killing me anymore, because all they're getting is 10%. So I just put mine out there just so I'm out there. That's the only reason, and to get people out to my facility. I'm not as easy to get to as other facilities that are in the Houston area. I'm 35 miles east, So it takes, they're not just coming out for 4 hours to play golf. They're coming out for 6 hours to be away from their family. So that's the reason I do it.
You never did answer. One of the questions I had was, how are you marketing your company, and will you pay us to switch and let us own part of your company?
Let you own part of my company?
Will you sell me some
We
shares in
could
your
talk
company, and I'll
privately.
switch right away?
That's not something I was prepared for today. The way we're working to market Purpose Golf and Golf North Texas is we don't have the cash flow that Golf Now has. The main ways that we're trying to get our name out is through Google advertising and through Facebook advertising and through email, our email database. We have about almost 5,000 people now in the Golf North Texas database. We obviously understand, a few of you out there are currently customers and listed on golfnorthtexas.com. I'm not pushing the volume that we like or that anybody really needs right now. But a lot of that the feedback that I get from people that go to Golf North Texas and that either comment on Facebook or send me messages or send me emails, 95% of them, my prices are too high. And now my prices are what you guys want your prices to be. I can't compete with that hot deal. So if you're on Golf Now and on Purpose Golf or Golf North Texas, that customer's smart. They're looking at both places. They want to see where they can find the cheapest place to play or the cheapest rate to play at your facility. And so one of the major steps we're taking is to partner with Supreme Golf. And they're going to be a very large distributor for us. And so what they are is, if any of you are familiar with the hotel or travel industry, they're like a kayak.com. They list everybody. So they work with third parties like myself. They list Golf Now, they list Golf 18, they list teeoff.com. You still have complete ownership and control of the times listed through me when it sells through their avenue. And so their website, supremegolf.com, is the largest online inventory of tee times. And then also golf.com, that's Golf Magazine's site, as I mentioned in my opening statement. So if you're listed on golfnorthtexas.com and someone's at golf.com and wants to book a tee time, you're going to be listed on golf.com as well. So creating those partnerships where we can retain ownership, retain control, not give up any price integrity. I'm not competing with you to sell tee times. The more I sell, the more I make, the more you make. Continuing to grow the business that way. I'm not going to be able to outspend them on Google. We really, what it comes down to is if we want to control the inventory or not. If you're going to give your inventory to every discount shop in town, I'm not going to have the same effect that I can have if it's one location, a true co-op of courses with complete ownership and complete control. Does that answer your question, Robert?
But we could market for Keith at our facilities to all our golf courses, to all our databases, and we can get this started in the right direction rather than have somebody else do something that we don't have control of.
And that kind of goes back to the database topic. Those golfers are all our golfers. If Golf Now has 100,000 emails in North Texas, all of our facilities combined have those emails and more. We all have those people. We can all reach directly to every single one of those customers. So why are we allowing a third party to come in and compete very heavily, erode price integrity, and discourage customer loyalty, when we can come together and market a system? People like Golf Now because it has every single tee time, it has every single golf course. Beyond just the pricing, they like to see the inventory all in one spot. Everybody likes to see what their options are. But they also like the low price. So let's give them what they want, but let's own it. Let's control the pricing, and let's own every single time that's sold. That's the goal. And you do that, it's $3 million coming back into our market right away.
Kind of want to make a comment on what Jeff just said. You know, he said we can market for Keith. Well, what he's really saying is we can market for ourselves. And that's the bottom line. If you market for yourselves, you're going to get the price that Jim Henderson's getting over there. He's getting his rack rate. I don't care when you go over there, he's getting his rack rate. Whether it's twilight, whether it's regular rack, whether it's weekend. He just told you what his golf was worth over there. He believes it, he trusts it, and that's how it is. And if we all felt that way, we'd always get our rack right. I mean, it really is simple. It's a really simple formula. But we just gotta own it. We gotta make a move.
So if North Texas is, we're giving away $3 million up here, South Texas is probably giving away $3 million. So there's $6 million out of the $100 million that they're receiving on those bookings. That will get the attention of National, PGA National, and it'll get attention of a lot of different sections across the country. And I promise you, that will change it. So we have an opportunity to make a change. We just have to stick together, fight the fight, and we can do this. And it needs to start in a big section, 2 sections, all of Texas, because when you think about it, all the northern courses aren't online all year round. So this has to come from the southern states.
I had a question, I guess, kind of pertaining to the point of sale, and maybe a question for you as well, is the integration system for reservations is a fantastic model and probably one of the best point of sale systems I've ever worked with. And we use it very well as far as the reporting systems. We were on Club Profit for a couple of years back in 2011 and 12, and hated it, to be honest. And they nickel and dimed us everywhere they could as far as we want this report, so then there was more money. We wanted to be able to process preferred players, as we call them, monthly billing. They wanted more money for that. We wanted to integrate with some different things. Golf 18 was working with Course Trends at the time, and they wanted more money to integrate into their tee sheet. So how does the tee sheet integrate? Can it integrate with reservations and different things like that?
Yeah, so that comes back to who owns your tee sheet. For reservations is obviously owned by GolfNow. I'm a competitor to GolfNow. They're not going to let me in the door. They're not going to let me integrate. I can sell your tee times for you, but it's going to be an email reservation system. Everybody who does that knows that's a pain in the butt. It's hard to keep the tee sheet managed. If you start to fill up, you forget to go block those tee times on the portal online, then you're starting to get double bookings. Some days that's a good thing, some days it's not a good thing.
So and the people that are using your website, what point of sale systems are they?
Yeah, so the point of sale is one of the most important things. That is really the hub of your golf shop. My integrations with most of these people out here are either with Club Profit, 4Up, or the Golf System. And those are 3 independent companies who aren't involved in the third-party market. When you have a third-party marketer who owns your point of sale, they have a vested interest in not allowing competition like me in the door. That is the most important thing that you can do, is to get independent ownership of that tee sheet so that you can work with whoever you want to work with. Number 2, the most important thing, own every single time on your website. If you have GolfNow's booking engine on your website and they are selling hot deals, when you leave this meeting, call them today and tell them your hot deals are off my website. They are not pushing people to your website, so why are you allowing them to own property on your website? If somebody comes to hawkscreekgolf.com and they book the 1:30 or whatever tee time it is, why are you going to allow them to book a time that you don't know? If they go to GolfNow, we all know that program, but you can't allow them to have that on your site. This is your property. That'd be like allowing the course next to you to stand in your parking lot and say, well, don't play here. Play at my place for $20. You're not going to allow that. We're not going to go stand in each other's parking lots. So, independent point of sale, owning that every single tee time sold on your website is so important. And I'll give you another example. I'm not going to mention the course, but there's 2 courses that I've screenshotted their online booking engine on their website. And the only tee times available for the entire day are hot deals. This is on their website. So golfer A comes to your site, wants to play your golf course. There's 2 times available, and they're all 80% off. Nothing else is available. That's on their website. I send that to them, but you have to make a decision on who you partner with. What kind of model are you willing to accept? What kind of behavior from your partner are you willing to accept? But those are the most important things. You got to have an independent point of sale, tee sheet, and booking engine on your website.
You know, again, this is this is America. You know, we vote on stuff. We're a democracy. You know, we don't cut your heads off if you don't agree with us. We did this to ourselves. We thought we were going to get something for nothing or something for a deal. We were lazy. We didn't go get our own systems. We didn't get our booking engines. We didn't get our tee sheet systems, and now we're in a trap. It's really simple. You want Hillary or do you want Trump? I mean, what do you want? I mean, if you go out and vote, that's the way it works in this system here. All you do is you do like our customers do. You just quit giving them the tee times. It's just not that complicated, guys. It's not that complicated. And I know I was glad to hear that Ronnie's business has increased, and that Jeff and your business hasn't suffered, and Phillips. You know, our business hasn't suffered. I know we've got 5 golf courses. You know, our worst deal. You know, I've fought this now, and Bob Smith's not in here, but I'd tell Bob to his face. You know, the idea of marketing, good marketing, is not discounting your product, and that's what everybody thinks marketing is. Yeah, we're going to do some marketing here for the city of Dallas. What we're going to do is, you play 5 rounds of golf, we're going to give you your 6th round free. That wasn't a deal for it, and we tried that. All we did was I discounted my product 20%. Same thing with this booking engine here. I mean, all you're doing, you're not getting, I mean, it's costing you money. Either you see it or you don't see it. Either it's cocaine or it's not cocaine. Either you're hooked on it or you're not. And if you want to get rid of it, quit buying it and go to an alternative. And if it's this young man's product, then you use his product. Or you get your own product. Like we have our own website and we have our own POS system. We use Club Profit because they work. But we own our own times. And one other thing I want to say, and 2 of our models that we work against, no disrespect to anybody, but when my bosses ask me who do I want to be compared to, Texas Star and Grapevine. Now, only because I only can list 2, but you guys have got a great product. We own ourselves. They don't own it. Quit using it. I mean, use a little. I mean, go out and hook up with somebody different. It's just not that complicated. Our business has. I know this is not the popular way, but since we've reopened, and you said 6%. We're off the charts right now because we own our own business. We're selling our own tee times. If you play, you know, half our revenue is generated on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday mornings, just like you said. Look at your numbers. I mean, all this, everything these guys have told y'all is true. I know the numbers, and they're spitting. There's gospel up here, guys. Just quit buying it. That's it. I mean.
You said it best when you talked about marketing and everybody marketing to a discount. That's not marketing. I mean, you said it best right there. That really hits home right there.
Keith, when you get a chance, can you talk about your future or your plans for your company and where you're going? Are you going to a mobile app, anything of that nature?
Yeah, so right now everything that we have is all online. We don't have a mobile app. It's something that I would like to get to. My company is me and my partner, Brett. He's the developer, and I'm the salesman essentially. And I talk to every customer that needs assistance. As we grow, it's something that we are prepared for. He has developed everything so that it's mobile friendly, and it will fit into a mobile app quickly when we start to develop that. But developing an app is very time consuming and very expensive. So it's something that is down the line as we continue to grow. Yeah, that's probably the best way I can answer that.
So for me, just hearing Keith, you know, and he's starting, he's not as strong as GolfNow's website and all of that. So I'm giving away $19,000 to Golf 18 plus the 10% to GolfNow. I'd prefer to take part of my marketing budget and give it to Keith to develop the software to do the right thing. That's where I feel we should go with this thing and help him out. So I want this to end. This needs to end. We need to get our tee sheets back. And we made the mistake, just like Jim said, but we need to fix it. And we need to keep it in-house.
Keith, will you explain for us one more time your platform and exactly how it works? Because I still want to get a good grasp of it.
So Purpose Golf is the company. We have essentially two products. The first product is the booking engine that we provide to the golf course at no cost. You tell us the rates you want to put on there. This is the one that's on your website. You tell us the rates that you want. We put those on there. We give you access to the back end. You can go in and play with your rates however you feel best to do that. You can have coupon codes, or you can raise the rates, lower the rates, show discounts, not show discounts, however you want to do it. That service is completely free to you. We make our revenue off of a booking fee. It's the same booking fee that GolfNow charges. The other product is region specific. It's golfnorthtexas.com. That's the product where all our courses are in the same spot on the same website, and that's direct to consumer, direct to the golfer. They can go there to that site, book tee times, view any tee times that they want, and they'll pay the same booking fee there, or they can join the site for a monthly fee. And if you offer discounts, they get access to those discounts. If you don't offer discounts, they're still paying the full rack rate. Everything is owned and controlled by you, and whatever prices you want listed, that's what's shown on there. I'm not going to go in there and lower your rates so I can sell it easier. I could put $10 golf up all day long and I could compete as well, but that's not the goal. The goal is to raise the rate that we're getting on an average golfer and to get complete ownership back in our market. And really, the success, the platform's there, but the success really depends on adoption from y'all. We can continue down this road that we're on, and we can just say it's too big, we're not going to fight it, or we can say we're going to do something about it, and we can take the ownership back. It's really as simple as, what's this room going to do here? That's really what it comes down to. I'm not going to go market your tee times at half off, at 80% off. It's just not going to work. We've got enough of that. We've spent 2 hours talking about how that's not the solution. It comes down to this room, and what are we going to do together as a group?
Well, in closing, I'd like to challenge you guys in the facilities that use GolfNow is to set up a meeting with those guys, bring them into your office, and ask them if they would put a floor on that trade time. And that floor being your rate. And that's it. And if they're not willing to do that, just say, well, we no longer want to do business with you, and see what they do. And again, I'd like to thank all you guys for coming out today, and it's been a great meeting, and really enjoyed the feedback. The feedback's been outstanding. Just hearing from all you guys, it's been a great day. So thank you.
I want to thank everybody, too, for being here today. Keith, Philip, thanks for inviting me. Love to take this to South Texas and see what we can do there, because we know this is an issue not just in the state of Texas, but around the country. So I just want to say thanks. Let's take our tee sheets back. We own them. Let's take control of what we do best. This is our game. we put that PGA badge on every day and go out and work for it. So let's own some of it.
Well said, Jeff. You know, in closing for me, you know, I'd just like to say that I just can't imagine how we can let $3 million out of this market, you know, walk every year. The only thing that I know, the only thing that I hear, the only thing that I appreciate when I go to national meetings is how they say North Texas is on the forefront of so many different things, and the Northern Texas PGA is very, very far ahead of their time. It's time for us to be ahead of our time. This is as grassroots as it gets. It's time to make another step in the right direction. We cannot continue to allow this kind of dollar walk out of a marketplace that's very tight anyway. I'd like to once again applaud Keith and all his efforts with Purpose Golf. A lot of hard work put into it, a lot of his time, a lot of his money. He and his partner have really worked hard on this product, and it's a wonderful product. I couldn't be more proud to be associated with it. If anybody wants any sort of input personally by myself, welcome to call me at any time here at the golf shop. I'd love to talk to you more about what he has to offer and just talk about trade, period. Any issues you might be having, I'd be more than happy to help you any way I can.
Well, it's an honor for me to be here, and certainly understanding what Keith has with Purpose Golf. And, you know, I think on a on a global level, we have to look at really where we're at in the business. And there's no doubt that we've allowed some of these third-party tee time providers to create a pretty strong business model. And I think it's up to us to control our business, each and every one of us, through our facilities, through our owners, through our golf professionals, and really build the foundation. And I hear a lot of different things going on. Golf is growing, and the statistics tell us that. Junior golf's grown by more than a 500,000 golfers in the last 2 years. We do have golf growing right now, so don't listen to them when they tell you that it's not growing, that you need to do certain things or discount your rates to be able to attract more people. So work on your experience, work on your foundations, work on your programs, and just by being here today, I think is a tribute to each of you, wanting to understand and certainly build your business and from the ground up. And anything that I can do and that we can do on a district level, section level, I'm certainly here to do that. So just thanks for having me here today.
Well, first of all, thank you to everyone here in the audience. These events are successful because we can come together as a group, and I appreciate your support of this event. I want to say a special thank you to our panelists, to Ronnie, to Jeff, to Philip, and to Glenn. Them to take their time out of not just today, but to prepare for this event, to gather numbers, to share, and to try and educate what's working for them and what they hope to see for the section. And I would just kind of go back again to what Jim was saying. The solution really is simple. It just takes us coming together and saying, we're done with this. We're not going to allow this to happen anymore. People are still going to play golf. We're not going to be shutting down our golf courses. More revenue will be coming in the door. I hope you give me a chance. If I call on you, would love to sit down and talk with you and see what we can do together and as a group as a whole. But once again, let's take a little bit of time to thank our panel, and I thank you all for coming out today.